Employment first means
Employment first. What that means to me is equality, opportunity, and success for all people with physical and sensory disabilities.
Employment first means demonstrating respect for everyone in our community and valuing the unique perspectives people with disabilities can bring to our workplace.
Employment first means competitive, integrated employment in the community for people with disabilities. What this means to me is that we'll be able to work in the actual community now instead of shelter workshops. I might have more of a chance to have an actual paying job.
Employment first means people with disabilities can go out in the community and find jobs.
Employment first means increased opportunities to be like my non-disabled peers and have a competitive, full-time job. What's the first thing that someone usually says when you meet a stranger? Usually it's, what's your name? And after that, what do you do for a living? But unfortunately, too many times, those of us with disabilities don't have the opportunity to say what we do for a job because there's so many disincentives for us to get employment, both locally and federally. So hopefully we can change that.
Employment first means to me that all of our employers in the Commonwealth, whether large industries or small businesses, has access to the resources for supportive employment and interventions so that every Kentuckian has access to competitive employment. Employment first is incredibly important to the work of the KWIB, as accessibility to employment for all Kentuckians is a goal that we have.
Let's talk about Employment First in Kentucky. Employment First started as a philosophy. This idea that people, including those with significant disabilities, can do more than had been assumed. We have a long history of low employment rates for people with disabilities, but some believed it didn't have to be this way. Not only could people do more than we had thought, but we were finding more effective strategies to support people in the workforce. Employment First then turned into a movement to help people gain access to the appropriate supports needed to go to work. And then you started to see it in more concrete ways across the country, showing up in policy, state executive orders, and legislation. In Kentucky, we first had an executive order signed in 2018. It was renewed in 2020, and then in 2022, it was signed into law. The legislation includes this priority statement that the General Assembly finds and declares that it is the policy of the Commonwealth of Kentucky that competitive integrated employment in the community shall be considered the first and primary option for persons with disabilities of working age who desire to become employed. The legislation also includes a governor-appointed Employment First Council, which is to work toward increasing employment rates for Kentuckians with disabilities. The legislation goes on to define competitive integrated employment as work that is paid no less than minimum wage and at least what coworkers without disabilities who are doing similar work are paid, where employees are eligible for benefits and promotions just as coworkers without disabilities doing similar work, and where employees have the opportunity for interaction with people without disabilities to the same extent as other employees who do not have a disability and do similar work. The inclusion of this definition provides clarity around what kinds of jobs are being talked about when we say employment first in Kentucky. So there's the law, and then there's the application in people's lives and the work we do. We can think of employment first as a two-sided issue. It is both a workforce development issue and a disability issue. Kentucky needs more workers in our workforce. We have multiple workforce development plans in our state and in various divisions and industry sectors. People with disabilities need to be included as a target group of potential employees when it comes to planning for workforce development. Rather than viewing disability as a benefit people receive to opt out of the workforce, it should be seen as a demographic representing many people with much to offer Kentucky's businesses. We know that while some businesses may not be used to thinking about people with disabilities in this way or understand just what they have to offer their particular company, there are many businesses that do. For example, Disability In is a business-led organization that provides a wealth of resources to businesses in creating inclusive strategies around both recruiting and retaining an inclusive workforce. They have also researched the effects of such practices and consistently find positive impacts over a range of financial indicators. They have led the way in showing that hiring people with disabilities isn't just the right thing to do, it is good business. The Job Accommodation Network is another resource available to both employers and employees. They have a searchable database to find potential accommodations, which would enable employees to be successful on the job based upon their individual need, plus resources to aid in the process of requesting accommodations and understanding the rights and responsibilities of each party. These resources include written toolkits for different levels of the business team and the option to call or chat with technical experts in the accommodation process and how it relates to the Americans with Disabilities Act. The Southeast ADA Center is our regional technical assistance center of the National ADA Network. These centers exist to provide technical assistance, guidance, and information around all parts of the Americans with Disabilities Act, including the employment provisions. EARN, the Employer Assistance and Resource Network on Disability Inclusion, is yet another entity designed to support both employees with disabilities and employers. These are just a few examples of the range of supports for employers in recruiting and retaining employees with a range of disabilities. And why is this a workforce issue? It all goes back to needing employees. Kentucky needs employees and has one of the largest gaps in the employment rates of people with and without disabilities. Businesses need employees, and Kentucky has citizens who want to go to work. The other side of the Employment First conversation is that it's a disability systems issue. These numbers come from the National Core Indicators Survey, asking questions of adults who receive publicly funded service through the Kentucky Division of Developmental and Intellectual Disabilities. You can see of those surveyed, just 11% report having a job. When asked, 44% of respondents indicate they want a job, while only 16% of those who want to work have it written in their service plan. If competitive integrated employment is to be considered the first and primary option for persons with disabilities of working age who desire to become employed, as our Employment First legislation states, these numbers indicate we have a long way to go. Employment as an option in our service system is not new. It's the recognition that it be the primary option that is new, meaning that if someone wants to go to work, we need to be able to connect that person with the appropriate supports needed to do so before finding other ways to spend one's day that may be more readily available. There are several things that need to happen before that becomes a smooth reality in our society and disability service systems. First, there are a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings around what people with significant disabilities can do in the workforce. We need to spread the word about what is possible for people and how their gifts and talents might be realized. Also, more efficient connections between school and needed services should be made available. This could increase the likelihood of students heading into employment out of school and would ease the transition into adulthood. After all, isn't employment what most adults in our society do? At the same time, we acknowledge the need for more employment services in order for increased numbers of people to receive the quality supports needed to find good employment. It should not be so hard that people don't want to navigate the system to get what they need. We need to better support people and their families to be able to find what is needed so that people want to go to work and see it as a viable option. Just as there are resources for businesses, there are a wide array of resources and services for Kentuckians with disabilities to be successful at work. The entry point of service in Kentucky is the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. Regardless of access to other funding streams, employment services typically begin here. Also known as OVR or VR, they are a part of the Kentucky Career Center and have offices across Kentucky. They offer a range of services to help Kentuckians with disabilities obtain and maintain competitive integrated employment, including access to education and assistive technology. For people with significant disabilities who are eligible for supported employment, VR will connect you with an employment specialist who can offer individualized discovery plus help finding and keeping a job. While it's one thing to know that there are technologies available to help someone on the job, it's also reassuring to know that there is help identifying such technology. The CATS network has regional offices and can identify and connect you with appropriate technology to help with a wide range of tasks, including those on a job. The Buck Starts Here is a resource guide for funding sources of assisting technology. It can be viewed or downloaded from the CATS Network website. One can also access the CATS Locator, which is a free service to connect Kentuckians to the assistive technology devices needed to live and work independently. The University of Kentucky's Human Development Institute is Kentucky's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. Often referred to as HDI, it has projects cross-disability and across the lifespan, with one of its priority areas being employment. Related projects include offering training and assistance around employment supports and transition from high school to college and/or employment, transportation, and supporting people who have become disabled through illness or injury stay in the workforce. They can offer information and resources to people with disabilities, families, professionals, and interested others on a wide range of topics and are well equipped to connect you with others across Kentucky who can help answer questions or provide direct service. Through HDI's website, you can find an array of resources such as the Kentucky Disability Resource Guide. This online guide is broken down into topic areas with descriptions, links, and contact information for a range of resources across the Commonwealth. To realize an inclusive workforce in Kentucky requires the investment of time and energy by people with disabilities, family members, employers, and support services. Your involvement is needed. The first step is the presumption of competence, meaning everyone, regardless of impact of disability, has a contribution to make as a valued employee. Scan the QR code to learn more about what you can do. If you or someone you know is interested in working or has additional questions, please check out the Employment First website, contact any of the resources mentioned in this video, or reach out to kwolf@uky.edu or nancy.howard@ky.gov.